You have about 2 grams of zinc in your entire body right now. 2 grams. That is less than the weight of a single penny. And yet, that tiny amount is holding together more than 300 different enzymes and over 1,000 genetic switches that control everything from how fast a cut on your finger heals to whether you can taste your morning coffee. Strip it away, and your immune system stumbles, your hormones crash, your gut lining starts to leak, and your brain loses the ability to form new memories, all from removing something that weighs less than a coin. Most people think of zinc as the thing you grab at the pharmacy when you feel a cold coming on. Pop a lozenge, hope for the best, move on. That framing is not just incomplete, it is almost comically small. Zinc is not a cold remedy. It is a structural ingredient baked into the machinery of nearly every major system in your body. Your DNA cannot copy itself without it. Your pancreas cannot store insulin without it. Your neurons cannot send certain signals without it. Calling zinc an immune supplement is like calling the foundation of a skyscraper a doorstep. And here is the part almost nobody talks about. There is a ceiling, a real one. Take too much zinc every day and you start silently draining your body of copper, which triggers its own cascade of damage, including anemia and nerve degeneration that can become permanent. The line between enough and too much is thinner than most people realize, and some of the most popular supplements on store shelves are already above it. Today, we are going system by system: immune, gut, hormones, brain, skin, and DNA, to show you exactly what daily zinc changes at the cellular level, not vague claims, mechanisms, what zinc actually does inside your cells, what shifts when you finally have enough of it, and precisely where the science says helpful tips over into harmful. By the end, you will understand why one trace mineral touches so many seemingly unrelated functions and where the real boundaries sit. Let us start with the system you would expect. Your immune system is the obvious place to start because it is the one job most people already give zinc credit for. But even here, the real story is more interesting than the common version. Most people think zinc boosts your immune system, like pressing the gas pedal. That is not what happens. Zinc tunes it. It works on both sides, ramping up the defenses that are too weak and dialing down the inflammation that is too aggressive. Think of it less like fuel and more like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure no section overpowers the others. The centerpiece of this is a small gland sitting right behind your breastbone called the thymus. The thymus is where your T cells grow up. Raw, immature immune cells enter the thymus, and they come out the other side as trained soldiers that can recognize and kill specific threats. The thymus needs a hormone called thymulin to do this work, and thymulin cannot function without zinc. Take zinc away, and the thymus actually shrinks. It physically gets smaller. T cell production drops. Your body starts fielding fewer and weaker defenders against every virus, every bacterial invasion, every abnormal cell that needs to be eliminated. Your natural killer cells lose their ability to destroy infected cells efficiently. Your neutrophils, the first responders that swallow and digest invaders, slow down. At the same time, zinc is doing something on the offensive side that most people have never heard of. Zinc ions can directly interfere with how certain viruses copy themselves. Rhinovirus, the most common cold virus, uses an enzyme called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase to replicate inside your cells. Zinc gums up that enzyme. It physically gets in the way of the copying machinery. This is why zinc lozenges taken within the first 24 hours of a cold can cut the duration by about a third. not because zinc vaguely supports immunity, but because it is jamming the virus's copy machine at a molecular level. Here is the twist that completes the picture. Zinc also suppresses a protein called NFKB, one of the master switches for inflammation in your body. When NFKB is overactive, you get chronic, low-grade inflammation, the kind linked to joint pain, arterial damage, and accelerated aging. So zinc is not pro-immune or anti-immune. It is both, depending on what your body needs at that moment. And here is the part that should make you pause. Both too little zinc and too much zinc suppress immune function. The window where zinc actually helps is narrower than the supplement industry would like you to believe. That narrow window matters even more when you look at where zinc enters your body in the first place, your gut. The lining of your small intestine is only one cell layer thick in most places. One single layer of cells is all that separates the food you eat and the bacteria in your gut from your bloodstream. Those cells are held together by structures called tight junctions, tiny protein clasps that lock neighboring cells to each other like the teeth of a zipper. The proteins that make up those clasps, claudins, occludin, a scaffolding protein called ZO1, all require zinc to be properly built and maintained. When zinc levels drop, those clasps loosen. The zipper starts to gap. Molecules that should stay inside your intestine begin to leak through into the surrounding tissue and eventually your blood. This is not a metaphor. Controlled studies have measured this directly. Restrict zinc intake for just a few weeks, and intestinal permeability increases in measurable, reproducible ways. The gut becomes leaky in the most literal sense. In Japan, a compound called zinc carnosine is used clinically to treat gastric ulcers. It coats the stomach lining, calms local inflammation, and helps rebuild the mucosal barrier from the inside out. There is a cruel irony here. Your gut is where zinc gets absorbed. About 20% of the zinc you eat is taken up in the upper portion of your small intestine, the duodenum and jejunum. If that lining is already damaged, you absorb less zinc. Less zinc means the lining degrades further. The gut is both the entry point for zinc and one of the first casualties when zinc runs low, a feedback loop that works against you. And absorption has competition. Zinc, iron, and copper all use some of the same transport channels to get into your cells. Flood the channel with too much zinc and you start blocking copper absorption. We will come back to that because it becomes dangerous. Up to this point, zinc's roles make a certain intuitive sense: defense and digestion. Your immune system fights invaders. Your gut processes food, and zinc helps both. But from here, the connections get stranger. Your body uses zinc to build three hormones that most people would never associate with a mineral: testosterone, insulin, and thyroid hormone. Testosterone first. The cells that produce testosterone in men are called Leydig cells, and they sit in the testes. Zinc is a required ingredient in their production line. In a controlled study, researchers restricted zinc intake in healthy young men for 20 weeks. Their serum testosterone dropped by roughly 75%, not a subtle dip, a collapse. Restore the zinc, and levels came back up. Insulin next. Every molecule of insulin your pancreas stores is held together by 6 zinc ions, arranged in a precise geometric structure called a hexamer. Without zinc, your beta cells cannot properly package and store insulin for release. There is a zinc transporter on those beta cells called ZNT8 that is so essential that when the immune system mistakenly produces antibodies against it, doctors use that as a diagnostic marker for type 1 diabetes. Thyroid hormone is the third. Your thyroid gland mainly produces a hormone called T4, which is the inactive form. To become active, T4 must be converted to T3, and that conversion depends on enzymes called deiodinases, which require zinc. Without enough zinc, you can have a thyroid gland that is working fine, producing plenty of T4, but your body cannot convert it into the active form your cells actually use. This is where misdiagnosis happens. Fatigue, brain fog, low sex drive, weight gain, feeling cold all the time. These symptoms show up in zinc deficiency, in low testosterone, and in hypothyroidism. They overlap almost perfectly. A meaningful number of people being evaluated for hormone problems turn out to have a zinc problem instead. Repletion alone, just getting zinc levels back to where they should be, can resolve symptoms without any hormone therapy at all. From hormones, follow zinc one more step deeper into the brain itself. About 1.5% of your total body zinc is concentrated in your brain, and it is not evenly spread. It clusters heavily in the hippocampus, the region responsible for forming new memories, specifically in a pathway called the mossy fiber synapses. When a neuron in this pathway fires, it releases zinc into the gap between cells along with its normal signaling chemicals. That zinc then lands on the receiving neuron and modulates two critical receptor types. The first is the NMDA receptor, which is central to learning and memory formation. The second is the GABA A receptor, which regulates calmness and anxiety. Zinc is not just supporting the brain from the background. It is in the signal itself, shaping how you learn, how you remember, and how anxious or calm you feel on any given day. This is why zinc deficiency shows up in mental health data. Meta-analyses consistently find lower serum zinc in people with depression, not as a coincidence, but as an independent association that persists even after controlling for other variables. And your senses are involved too. The ability to taste food depends on an enzyme called gustin, also known as carbonic anhydrase 6. It requires zinc. The ability to smell depends on zinc-dependent receptors in your nasal epithelium. Losing your sense of taste or smell is one of the earliest clinical signs of zinc deficiency. That fact took on unexpected relevance during the early pandemic, when researchers started asking whether pre-existing zinc status might be compounding the severity of taste and smell loss in some patients. The biology was already there, waiting to be noticed. But before you decide to start taking more zinc, you need to understand the ceiling, because it is lower than you think, and the consequences of exceeding it are severe. When you take zinc in amounts above about 40 milligrams per day, consistently, your intestinal cells respond by producing a protein called metallothionein. Metallothionein binds metals. That is its job, but it has a strong preference for copper. So the more zinc you take, the more metallothionein your gut cells make, and the more copper gets trapped inside those cells. Your intestinal lining replaces itself every few days. When those cells slough off, the copper trapped inside them is lost with them. Day after day, week after week, your copper levels silently drop. Copper deficiency is not trivial. It causes a specific type of anemia that does not respond to iron supplements. It causes neutropenia, a dangerous drop in white blood cells. And in documented cases, it causes myelopathy, degeneration of the spinal cord itself, leading to numbness, difficulty walking, and nerve damage that can become permanent. Case reports describe patients who took between 100 and 150 milligrams of zinc daily for months, sometimes unknowingly through denture adhesive creams that contained zinc, and developed irreversible nerve damage. The established tolerable upper limit for adults is 40 milligrams per day. Check the label on the most popular zinc supplements at any drugstore. Many of them contain 50 milligrams per dose. One pill already exceeds the safety threshold, and here is the final wrinkle. Testing your zinc status through a blood draw is unreliable. About 60% of the zinc in your blood is bound to a protein called albumin, and levels fluctuate based on inflammation, time of day, and whether you recently ate. A single serum zinc measurement can look normal, even when your tissue stores are depleted, or look low when your stores are fine. So, where does this leave you? You walked in thinking zinc was a cold remedy, something you grab from the pharmacy shelf when your throat starts to feel scratchy. Now you know it is structurally woven into your immune system's ability to train new soldiers. The protein clasps holding your gut lining together, the production lines for testosterone and insulin and thyroid hormone, and the synaptic signals that let you form memories and taste your food. 5 systems, 1 mineral, and a margin between helpful and harmful that is genuinely thin. The practical reality is straightforward. The amount your body needs is 8 to 11 milligrams a day. A single serving of red meat, a handful of shellfish, even a cup of lentils gets you close. Most people eating enough protein are already there without a supplement. If you do supplement, 15 to 30 milligrams daily with food is the supported range. Stay below 40. Above that line, copper starts disappearing from your body in a slow, silent drain that can do permanent damage before you ever notice a symptom. If you want the best absorption, zinc picolinate and zinc acetate have the strongest data. And remember that a blood test for zinc is almost meaningless as a single snapshot because levels shift with inflammation, meals, and time of day. The deeper lesson here goes beyond zinc. Your body does not reward more, it rewards precision. 2 grams, less than the weight of a penny. That is all the zinc you carry, and it is running over 300 enzymes across every major system you have. That tiny amount is not a limitation. It is the point. Your biology was never designed for excess. It was designed for exactly enough.